The only cars I've owned over the last 20 years have been the Volvo 240s. I've owned a handful of them, and I've run them all into the ground. My current ride has over 354K, a couple of dents, and a weather paint job. These cars are workhorses and they're perfect for what I do. They're simple, roomy, robust, and the trunk is huge, enabling me to pile in my camera gear and a couple of bikes to hit the road with the homies. I'm Jeff Zielinski, and this is In the Volvo. Today's guest is Broc Raiford. Broc had a big year in 2019 after getting picked up by Red Bull, and then he started 2020 off with a bang, leaving Volume after 8 years to join the Sunday squad. Without further ado, here's Broc Raiford in the Volvo.
This is so sick, man. It's been a minute that we've got to go out on a mission of any sort.
I know we've talked about it for a while, but it's difficult sometimes just getting everything to sync up, you know?
Absolutely. No, I know, like, you're always super busy shooting everybody, going to events and stuff, and, you know, being one of the main contributors to Ride BMX, and same with me traveling and filming, so it's nice to finally have it all come together and be in one place at one time.
Yeah, man, and I actually was just, like, putting together, like, a little verbal intro before I picked you up.
Okay, sick.
And, I was talking about how 2019 was like a pretty big year for you. I mean,
absolutely.
Coming off the knee injury. The knee injury was in 18, right?
Yes, it was 18. It was all of 18. Like, the first thing that I did was simple session, and I got some momentum from that. Like, I got third place. I was like, oh, it seemed like it was going to be a good year. Maybe get some momentum, do some other things. And then my first filming trip for headlights, I tore my ACL and meniscus, and that had me out for the entirety of 2018.
And then I know, just, you know, following you on social media and stuff, I saw, like, you really did it right as far as, like, all the PT.
It was more so I was doing it not necessarily because I knew it was the quote-unquote right thing to do, but because, like, it helped me focus on something positive than going down that, like, negative mental hole of, like, oh, like, woe is me, I'm not getting to go to this and to that. You know, just all the things that your brain kind of tells you, like, when you're off the bike, not doing the thing that you love so much, and you're sitting back watching other people have fun and do things, and you physically can't go do it, because if I were to ride, I would mess my knee up again, you know? So, like, again, with all the negativity that being off your bike, being injured, you know, like having to ride the bench for the majority of the year, like focusing on the physical therapy and on the positivity of focusing on my health, my mindset, all of that stuff, like, really helped me steer my energy into something that's gonna put me coming out better than I was even before I got hurt. So that was kind of the reason how that all happened. But I definitely tried my best to really take away as much positivity from that experience rather than just letting it be like oh, this sucked and this is why, you know? So
that's a smart way to do it. Do you feel like that is the case? Like, now, do you feel like you're in a better spot physically and mentally prior to the injury?
100%, you know, like, just going through all that, like, working on yourself feels good no matter what way it is, you know, whether it's like cleaning up your diet, whether it's working out, getting yourself in better physical shape or things like that, you know, like, all of it just helps your brain feel better, you know, in whatever regard. It could be anything, you know, it doesn't have to be those things, but, like, in any way where you're actually working on you as a person and making yourself feel better in some sort of way, like, you know, like, there's nothing, you can't take anything but positivity away from that and approach whatever you love to do with, like, almost like a refreshed mindset. It just goes to show that, like, if you really, like, want to, like, better yourself and progress in that sort of way, you know, it just takes a little bit of effort, but, like, you could get so much out of it.
Yeah, it seems like those long-term injuries for some people, unfortunately, is like make or break. They're either like, obviously you're hurt, and it's like, well, I can use this time and just and drink and gain a bunch of weight and not do anything, or
absolutely, you know, and that's like the devil on your shoulder, you know, because as a BMX rider, like, who doesn't love getting together with the boys, having a few drinks, you know, and cutting up, and when that's the only thing you can do when you're hurt, that makes you feel involved in the scene, you know, like, you kind of almost, like, in my head at least, like, I almost, like, wanted to latch on to that. I wanted to latch on to the partying, like, hey, let's get together and drink, you know, and that is a very slippery slope of being able to maintain a positive, healthy living, you know, for the better sense of the word, but yeah, you know, like I definitely kind of had to like walk that fine line of still hanging out with my friends, still, you know, being a normal human being, cutting up, drinking, having fun with the boys, but also, you know, like hitting physical therapy hard, making sure I'm like, you know, at those sessions every other day and all that stuff, you know, just to kind of get myself back to riding. You know, that was what was in my head. Was this wasn't me doing physical therapy to like be the most physically in shape athlete of all time. It was like literally just to get back to being able to 180 on flat ground was what all that physical therapy took, because everything beyond that, like I still, beyond months and months of like me being in physical therapy, I was still like working on my knee, working on like me riding, like my technique and everything. That way, like I was making sure that like I wasn't overcompensating for my left knee with my right one, because that more times often than not, like that's how you will endure another injury, because you're overcompensating for your first hurt injury with the other one, you know. So there's a lot of like stuff that I researched and read about, but
obviously it really paid off. Let's talk about Red Bull. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny because those things do have some sort of connection, because when I got the news, like I was obviously super duper surprised, but one of the things that they told me was that they were impressed with was how that whole situation got dealt with. And I thought that was pretty cool, because again, like I wasn't doing that in any sense of the word to be like, hey, look at me, you know, like it was just kind of like, that's what I had to do as a human being to keep myself pushing forward and not going the opposite way, you know? So, but, man, my relationship with them started 4 years ago. They covered a Flight to Simple session, which was awesome. You know, I was younger than I was like 21 at the time, so I was like super stoked. You know, like I think that was my second year out here in California, so like I was like super excited, and you know, just like super like being like, man, like maybe, you know, this could turn into something. And it was a long process, to say the least, and they know that too. They like apologize for that, but I had a lot of good people in my corner over there, you know, like a lot of people really fighting for me and helping me become an official athlete, because I got a lot of like really good help for them over time. And yeah, man, it finally happened, and I couldn't have been more stoked, you know, like it was something that it was a goal of mine for so long, you know, and it's just, it's still crazy to me. It's still crazy to me to put a Red Bull hat on every day, to have the helmet, all of that stuff, you know, like they just want to help you like reach new heights and goals within whatever you really want to do. Like it's there for you, you know, they provide the tools for you to excel in whatever way you want.
I've definitely noticed that. I've been to like, they have those like, I forget what they call them now, but it's basically, they had a bunch of their BMX riders come to Woodward. And they had like physical trainers and coaches there, basically like evaluate them, like they're physically, and like, okay, like what ailments do you have? Like, oh, my back or my neck or whatever, my knees. And these are like top people in the field. Like they like train and evaluate like NBA players and stuff, you know. And the Red Bull athletes got that consultation for free.
Well, I actually got to be a part of something really similar to that very recently. I got to do the bicycle high performance camp with them a few weeks back, and it was so crazy in the sense of like all of what you just described. You know, they had nutritionists there, they had people showing us mobility, they had people showing us how to recover, how to, oh man, like I could go on just with all the like great information that they supplied us with to like take away from that and better ourselves as like riders, you know what I mean? Because like I was the only BMX rider there, but there was like Carson Storch, who's like a freestyle downhill mountain biker, you know, like there was a bunch of like endurance athletes, Kate Courtney, Payson McLevin, like a bunch of like super awesome athletes that are in insanely good shape. You know, like I was by far, and I feel like I take moderately good care of myself, but I was like by far the least healthy, in shape athlete at all. And it proved itself time and time again, because those other riders were grinding it out and, you know, like really like taking the bull by the horns. But yeah, no pun intended.
It's caught that one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so anyways, yeah, they provide so many awesome tools that, you know, like, I don't know, that I had always wanted to learn about and, you know, dig more into, but I just didn't have the financial support or the means to find those people. So like
Right.
having them provide that for us is just so cool, man. Like seriously, it's a dream come true, you know, like as cliche as that shit sounds, like I am so stoked on it, you know, and it kind of like really helped me have even more motivation than I did before as a rider. They were always the company that I wanted to be a part of, like over anything else. So like I just stuck it out and just never gave up and trusted the process and hoped for the best. And you know, it all kind of came together in one day, and it was so surreal, you know, like it just didn't feel real that whole day that Terry gave me the hat. It felt like a dream.
Were you already in town when that happened? Like, obviously it was a surprise. Like, did they have to like trick you into coming to Louisiana and everything? Or
so I was already in town.
Okay.
And I was in touch with my Red Bull Connects at the time, and it was actually, I had met someone new. So for a while, like I was working with someone, and then he relayed me to my friend Christian. She lives in Nashville, so I was like, "Are you going to be in town by any chance? Because I'll be there. Maybe we could grab lunch." And she's like, "Oh yeah, maybe." Like, but then she was like, "Oh no, it's not happening." And then like the day before I flew home, you know, she was like, "Oh, a chance, like it actually lined up. Like I'm coming in town to talk with Terry Adams." And she's higher than the AMM, which is the athlete marketing manager, but she's taking over that role right now until someone else steps in for that. So she's Terry Adams AMM as well.
Okay.
And she was like, "Hey, I'm coming in to have like a talk with Terry for our projects for next year. Like, why don't you come meet up and we can grab lunch?" So to me, it was just a total like, I'm going to meet up with them. I'm going to like hang out with her for the second time, you know, get to chat a little bit more, get to know each other a little bit more, and just kind of hear like what Terry has planned for the year. You know, that was kind of all I knew. And then I show up, and Terry and I hadn't gotten a clip together in years. So he was like, "Oh, let's get a clip before we go to lunch," you know, and he's like, "Oh, let's do a hop whip." So I didn't have riding shoes on at the time, so I'm like putting on riding shoes, putting on shin guards. I was like, I am not getting a shinner right now, you know? And then, he's like laughing at me. He's in running shoes. So I'm like, "Are you going to do a whip in running shoes?" And like, so we're riding around, and Christian starts filming, and then he's like, "No, I'm not going to whip in these shoes." So then he goes back into the garage and then walks back out. He said, "You don't got to do a tail whip, dude," and like shows me the hat.
You ain't gotta film a whip. I can make you ride your bike right now, dude.
I broke down to tears, you know, like it was something that I wanted so bad, and I'd worked really hard for, and like, again, like just stuck with it and hope for the best, and he never gave up on them, like helping me, and you know, it shined through, and it became a real thing.
This is the best day of my life. Dude, oh my God.
I'm still thinking about it now, you know, like it's such like an emotional, crazy thing for me, just because of how bad I wanted it and how much they have helped me just in this small amount of time, you know, like it's really like, again, like helped me be a pro rider for longer in every sense, you know, like, because if it hadn't happened, I was going to have to start switching things up, you know, whether it be moving somewhere a little bit more affordable, you know, going down that whole rabbit hole. So like, again, like having their support in every sense is just totally like helped me still be a professional rider and also like push myself, you know.
Right.
So I am on through the Delta region, which is the South. So it's like I get to be out here, and I get to be in contact with all the Red Bull Connects out here on the West Coast, and get to kind of take part in things that they have out here. But then I also get to go back home to Louisiana, and like that is like where the hub, like that's where like I am like pushing for, you know, like pushing for videos, pushing for events, things like that back in the South, because like, you know, we all know the West Coast is like the hub for BMX and events and all that stuff, you know?
Right.
So like Louisiana will always be home, like you said, like my family's there, and I have a lot of deep-rooted ties out there with friends that ride, friends that don't ride, you know. So like being able to be a part of Red Bull and be like a part of it to try to push BMX and positivity and motivation in the South, like, you know, like it's just such like a really cool dynamic there that I'm really stoked on, you know, and I'm really hyped to kind of start doing things out there, you know, just because I do, you know, I hear it all the time. I go home, you know, my friends are like, "Man, like that event seems so sick and this seems so sick." I'm like, I want them, and I want other riders worldwide to experience what I have gotten to experience, you know,
Okay.
because it's so fun, you know, and like, why wouldn't you want everyone in BMX to experience that if given the opportunity that they have an event closer, you know, whether now they can drive and they don't have to spend money on a expensive plane ticket or whatever it is, you know. So I think it's cool to be able to like kind of give everybody a taste of like what we can all like what we get to experience as pro riders, you know.
Biggest current news, leaving Volume after 8 years.
Yeah, I'll start out by saying that Volume had done nothing but great things for me in those 8 years, you know. Like, I have nothing but great things to say about them and all the opportunities they gave me, and the opportunities to grow as a rider and grow with them as a company, you know, from working with them on graphics to everything under just being a part of their brand. Like, they really were so great to me, and I want to thank them as much as I possibly can now and in the future for what they gave me. But when it came down to it, it was just time for me to respectfully move on and bring a new change into my career. And yeah, like I said, it wasn't an easy decision. You know, I definitely don't want it to ever come across as I was like, you know, like throwing shade or throwing dirt towards them. You know, we went about it in a very professional and respectful way, and I'm sure a lot of people saw that in both of our posts on Instagram if you read them. You know, like they both came from a positive and respectful mindset, and I think that's awesome. You know, that's the way that I would always want to do it.
Now you have two brands supporting you under the same roof.
Yep.
How was that all initiated?
So it was something that, you know, like every now and again it had gotten brought up, you know, just in casual conversation, and, you know, like just after a while, you know, like it was just something that was brought to me, and we kind of like went back and forth about it, and then it you know, like got turned down for a little bit, whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, again, like it was a change that I thought was for the better, and I'm sticking with that, you know. And I'm so stoked to be with both Sunday and Odyssey, because Odyssey has been with me since the very beginning. You know, like from even like the Colony days when I was on Colony, and I have nothing but great things to say about them as well. You know, they have supported me to the craziest degrees, and they've always had my back and just been super nice and easy to work with and everything of the sort, you know, get us on good trips, great team, all that stuff. So yeah, it just kind of plugged my ear about, you know, maybe moving to being all under one roof at Full Factory. And you know, I have pretty damn good relationships with the entire team, the Sunday team, you know, like all those dudes. I've either been on trips on or had the opportunity to get to know them through the Sunday Odyssey house that Walter Perringer had in Rhode Island. When we filmed that video, I got to get to know a lot of those dudes. So again, like it just kind of seemed like something that made sense to me and something that I thought was a good idea, and I went for it, you know. And again, like I don't want people to take away anything from this, that it was like anything against Volume or the team for that matter, you know. Like I absolutely love every person that rides for Volume, like whether they past riders, new riders, all of them. Oh, Brian and La, like I just want to thank all of them for having me. But you know, like again, like it was time for me to make a change, and I stuck with it, and now I'm part of Sunday. I'm super stoked. Now seeing the route that we took, I think we should, after we're done with all of this, I think we should take this same route back, because I've just been seeing non-stop spots.
Great. That's great.
So
that's easy.
Yeah, I've probably been, literally, like I don't know if you could see it in the video, but I've literally just been like all over the place, like looking at stuff, like taking my mind off the conversation. But I've seen lots of sidewalk gems, you know, like that's something that I don't know if I should consider it that Walkways video doing me dirty or not, but it's like all I see lately is just like, oh, look at this little curb lip over this thing, this curb lip onto this, you know, like that's, lately I just have been so obsessed with like looking at those spots and riding those spots, and like, I think it's super cool, but sometimes, more often than not, they're not the biggest, gnarliest spots, so that's why I'm always like, oh man, like we need to like look for some like other stuff, so I don't just become a tiny spot guy.
Well, you know, I feel like things that are on sidewalks, that's like sidewalks and the actual road are like the trails of street riding. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah,
this
to
is
get
point A to point B.
Yeah,
so I feel like the things that you ride, and even in alleyways too, because obviously alleyways are also like the veins. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like if you're riding obstacles that are along the paths that you would normally ride, I feel like it's like the most natural form of street riding, as opposed to like climbing on a roof or something, because obviously you wouldn't be on a roof
right
going point A to point B.
Right, of course. But then that brings like a caliber of like skill and gnarliness and brute strength, you know.
Right,
so like they obviously both have their pros. Really, I don't even want to say cons. Like they both have their pros, you know. But yeah, it's something that I've just been super into lately, and whether it's for filming purposes or not, I just love riding.
You did pathways and walkways. They seemed like really fun projects because they were so specific. What's your takeaway from doing projects like that? Do you prefer doing those over a more traditional video part where you can just like ride anything?
Like I enjoy them both so much because like, you know, like the traditional video part style, you can kind of come up with ideas of tricks that you want to do. You know, I want to try this, and then you can find a spot for it, or you can find a dope spot and be like, damn, I wonder what I could do on this. You know, like all the stuff that goes through our minds as riders. And on the flip side, with the concept videos like Pathways and Walkways, those are super fun because like you have to find a spot and let the spot dictate what trick goes down, you know? From Walkways, I wrote a lot of those lid spots, but the hard thing is finding the lid spots that are different than others because there's plenty of lid to electrical boxes out there, but most of them are the same. The electrical box is a little short thing, so finding something that's different to where you can get variety is a fun challenge, you know. And I also like the fact that like it's way more lighthearted because there's not as much expectation to do I don't want to say progressive tricks, but like, you know, like it's more or less like letting the spot dictate what goes down on the setup. Whereas for traditional video parts, it's more or less like you can throw any crazy idea you ever had at any spot, and when it sticks, it's such a successful feeling, you know. So like kind of like test your mind, you know, test how well you can adapt to the spots that you're giving yourself within the concept. So
see, I like the fact you said that because I feel like your skill set, like you have a lot of tricks but you've really developed your eye for spot use and the setups and applying your tricks to them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times dudes who have a lot of tricks might not have that sharper setup eye because they can rely on their tricks.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And they might not have like the eyes to really apply them, but I feel like over the years you've really developed that as well.
Yeah, I mean,
now you have both, which is awesome.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I would say, as of lately, you know, I mean, first of all, I have to give credit to Mike Mastroni because he definitely helped steer me in that direction. Mm-hmm. You know, I would say for a lot of my earlier years on volume, you know, like I would have considered myself trick guy. You know, like I just knew how to do tricks, and I went to the spot and I did tricks. You know, but I don't necessarily know if that, I think it's cool, don't get me wrong, like, you know, like whatever type of rider you are, you know, but at the same time, like for me, like there was not so much longevity in the fun of that for me, and like lately I've been having a lot of fun doing exactly what you explained, like just letting the spot dictate what trick goes down and trying to like use that to the ability to progress in that way. Don't get me wrong, like I love crazy technical absurdity as much as the next rider, you know, like, you know, who doesn't like watching Devin do some incredible backwards manual, forwards manual combo, you know, like that. It takes so much incredible technical skill, and like that is so amazing to see. And you know, I wish I could do that, but for me, like lately, like I've just been having a lot of fun and like just doing simpler stuff, you know, like, and like trying to execute it to the best of my ability. You know, like within the recent months, like a lot happened in like a very close proximity amount of time. Like my girlfriend and I moved in together. She moves from Las Vegas to Long Beach, which is awesome. And her and I, this is my first time ever living with a significant other. So like her and I were getting used to that, and it's been great. But also I became a dog dad. She's had a dog her whole life, and she's now come into my life. And I've had dogs, but I never had a dog that like it was my responsibility to feed her, walk her, all that stuff. So that's been something that's been super fun. And then like on top of that, like, you know, the Red Bull news came about, and then now with the Sunday news coming about, you know, it's like kind of like this whole new crazy change going into 2020 that I'm really stoked on, you know, like it's kind of cool to be able to, in my eyes, breathe new life into my career, you know, like at such a later point in it, if that makes sense, you know. Wow, that little thing, dude.
What was that thing?
I don't know. It's just like a little electrical box that looks like a little like mushroom island. I don't know.
A mushroom island.
Yeah, you know, like well, like you know those like little like mushroom things that like they have like all around. Like it's not necessarily like a power box, but it has like the like
vent or something.
Yeah, it's a vent, and it's got the little like mushroom cap looking top. I don't know. That's what it looks like to me. So
I like that description, mushroom island. Some people would really like mushroom island.
Yeah, right. Yes. Oh man, I could just see this turning into a Team Weed post right now. But
Team Weed would be like, I wish.
Yeah.
Mushroom island.
Yeah. Oh man, but. Yeah, so just lots of cool changes going into 2020, and I'm excited, man. I'm just excited to try to stay healthy, film some cool shit, and just be involved and try to throw some cool events. This dude's halfway in the lane, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, like that's something that I'm probably the most excited about is just really trying to put on some cool stuff like everybody does and has done. Like, I'm not saying I'm trying to reinvent the wheel here, but, you know, just giving something back to the scene back home and for the South, you know, as well as Trey, and I'm sure lots of other people have done, but like having more go down there, like the riders down there are so stoked on what's going on over here, and a lot of them, you know, don't have the means to get out to places like that, so being able to give back like that and have them have something so close, because there's no doubt in my mind that people will drive from Texas, Georgia, you know, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, to come to something, you know, wherever we choose to put it on, you know, but just having something out there for people in BMX to be involved in, like, that's something I'm super stoked on.
Yeah, people like to make a trip out of it.
Absolutely.
You know, they're like, oh, I'll take time off work, and, you know, we'll go to that contest, we'll road trip down there and hit some spots, you know, like, the second year of Swamfest, like, people coming from up north stopping at the Kona skate park.
Yeah,
it's like a thing. Like everyone either did it on the way up or way down.
Absolutely, you know, and that again, that like opened my eyes to it as well. You know, going to this is my first year going in 2019, and was the first time that I went. Like seeing like how motivated people were to get there just because it is an event. You know, like, and again, like shout out to Trey for putting on something so sick. You know, but like just getting to see that with my own eyes, like seeing how many people were so down to just make the trip and like with just pack like a small Honda Accord with like, you know, like 5 dudes in bikes and just go for hours. Like, and again, I'm not saying that has never happened before, but again, like just seeing it just brings like a whole new awareness to how awesome BMX is, and that people will like, if you build it, they will come.
Do you still mess with tattooing? I know you talked about a while ago, like potentially apprenticing and things like that.
Yeah, I do still paint a lot of tattoo flash, which is like a lot of probably what you see me posting is those watercolor sheets that I paint on, and it resembles a lot of tattoo imagery and things like that. But I definitely don't put any ink in the skin just because like it's something that I could see myself going into later down the road. And I want to just make sure that I go about it in the best way, because I know that it is a craft and it is a trade. And you know, the people, the professionals or the people that do it for a living definitely try to protect that and preserve it for the beautiful artwork that it is. And I don't want to mess up or form any bad habits of me, you know, doing it outside of a shop. So yeah, I definitely am not putting ink in skin at the moment, but I am painting. I love it. I like to get tattooed. I like to hang out with my friends that tattoo. Some of them ride bikes. Some of them love just action sports in general. So I really just like that whole scene. You know, it kind of falls hand in hand with what we're doing. You know, that they have something that they're trying to perfect and progress at, and same with me riding. So it's cool to kind of share that like similar yet different perspective with them. They both take a lot of like time and dedication, you know, like, and I wish I could burn the candle at both ends and do both, you know, in that sense. Like, I wish I could be tattooing at the times when I'm not riding and riding at the times when I'm not tattooing, apprenticing and learning, you know. But at the same time, you know, with tattooing and apprenticeships, they want you there almost as much as I want to be riding, you know what I mean? Like, as much as I want to ride, they want you there learning, making sure you're practicing the right techniques or whatever it may be. You know, it just takes that time and dedication, and unfortunately that in BMX kind of butt heads for right now, so I can't really do both. So that leads me to just continuing my love for it and trying to learn as much as I can on the outside until I can get myself in a position where I can land an apprenticeship, and hopefully it takes off from there, because I do love it. I do love drawing and painting, and I do many different styles. You know, I don't just paint tattoo flash. Like, I like to do paintings. I've been working on this like little I mean, it is a clothing company because I do make t-shirts with designs on them, but it's kind of just another outlet for me to create artwork. And I've been working on this clothing company called Tough World, and it's it's all done by me and my friend Jake, pretty much. Like, I draw the designs and I send those designs off to my friend Ryan Herrera that screen prints t-shirts. He gets them done, and then my friend Jake helps me shoot the promo photos for him and just be a really good advocate to help promote them in the Southern California area and the world.
That's Tough World Co., right?
Yeah, that's Tough World Co. on Instagram. If you, I mean, it's kind of plays its hand to be my artwork account and the brand. So, like, I will post paintings and I will post things like that on there, as well as me posting the t-shirts and stuff for sale. So again, that's why I'm kind of like sometimes on the fence about calling it a brand or a clothing brand, because like it's just something, it's a name for me to promote my artwork and my clothing with my artwork on it, instead of just calling it Broc Raiford Clothing Co. You know, like I'm not the type of person to really be like selling clothes like with my name on it. You know, that kind of weirds me out a little bit. So like having a name, something that I think is cool to put all that under, is something that I stand behind more than
it's a catchy name too.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah,
it can be a tough world sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's kind of like the route that I went. You know, because thinking of a name is actually really hard. You know, like when you actually like try to sit down and think of a name that you think is cool now and then later. You know, because like sometimes, you know, you toss those ideas like, oh, that sounds sick, and you wake up the next morning and you're like, ew. But you know, that one kind of stuck around for a little bit, and yeah, exactly like you said. Like, it can be a tough world sometimes, and it's not necessarily, because I've had some people think that it's like about like being like tough, like, ugh, I'm strong, but like no, it's just like it's a tough world, but like we're here to stay and we're gonna make the best of it. Like, that's kind of the way that I chose to think about the name, and like it kind of has some like positivity behind it, and even though it does, the name kind of sounds like a little edgy, so I like it. I'm stoked on it, and it's easy. I don't do very high volume orders or anything like that. Just one design. The people that want to support will support. You know, I'm super appreciative of them. They definitely help keep the dream alive, and it feels good to have people appreciate what you're doing. And yeah, I take this moment to thank them. You know, like all the people that have bought my stuff, whether it's physical artwork, whether it's prints or t-shirts. You know, like I appreciate you guys' business so much, and you guys just supporting me on another level. You know, they support my riding, but also me as an artist and selling t-shirts. I really, really appreciate them.
Welcome back from Canada.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about going up there and winning your first contest of the year.
Yeah.
Pretty good way to start.
Absolutely, yeah. It was an incredible contest, you know, like just being there and being with some of my close friends and seeing the level of riding, man. 2020 is going to be an insane year of BMX. Like, I will tell you that in full confidence. Everyone there was absolutely crushing it, you know, like I'm sure, as you know, Johnny Rakis is a force to be reckoned with. That dude is an incredible bike rider at such a young age. Mark was on one, Hobie. Dean Hartley, which I had never met before, seeing him ride in person was absolutely incredible. Ryan Ellis, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but he is incredible. You know, did I say Mark yet? Mark crazy. Reed, Mike Gray, like seriously, all those dudes were just crushing it as well as everyone else there, you know, like, and it was just cool. Like everybody was just like chilling, and then when it came contest time, everybody laid it down and put their runs in, and when the smoke cleared, I ended up on top somehow, and I was super stoked, you know, like first contest of the year, took the dub, and yeah, it's also my first win since my knee injury, so that kind of really helped mentally, you know, so that was cool. And shout out Brandon Webster for housing me as well as the rest of the crew, Justin, Matt Nordstrom, and Travis. Like, he took us under his wing for the weekend and really showed us a good time. Took us ice fishing, which was my first time ever doing that. Freezing my ass off, but it was so fun.
It's probably a pretty decent teaser for single session.
Absolutely, you know, and to be honest, like, that's kind of what really pushed me to go, like, beyond, like, going support Mike and Joyride and what they were doing, instead of being like, oh, we need more contests or this and that. Like, they chose to take the initiative to put something on, and I really respect that and think that's awesome. But yeah, and then being there and getting to see most of the riders that would be at Simple Session and see the level of riding, you know, it definitely put things in perspective, and, you know, kind of just shows that, like, you can't really slack off, because there's dudes out there, like, killing it, ready to kill it, and will kill it, like, at the drop of a hat, you know. It's very, very apparent, like, watching all those dudes ride, you know, there's such next level riding, and it's just really, really cool to see that, you know, to see them killing it. And, like, it's just going to be a really good year for BMX in general, you know. Seeing their level of riding in a contest only just shows you that they're that much more consistent when they're riding street or filming or whatever, you know. So like I said, I just can't wait to see what the year brings for BMX as a whole, whether it be contest or filming.
Speaking about level of riding, dude, your Welcome to Sunday video was nuts.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Zach and I definitely put in a lot of hard work trying to get that done in time for the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the
announcement?
Yeah, the announcement. There you go. Exactly. So, yeah, him and I just knew that we were going to release the news on January 10th. And I had actually 2 bikes for a little while. So in order for me to still give respects to volume and not break the means of my contract, like, I was still on a volume until December 31st or January 1st when my contract ended. So to the public eye, I was on that bike still, you know. But then behind closed doors, or in my private life, I had a Sunday bike built up, and I was still riding the volume. But then when I was by myself, I would ride the Sunday, and I would go to parks like that Silverado park that's in Long Beach, and I would go ride that, like, late at night by myself, just to get some sessions in where, you know, like, I wouldn't give away the secret, because that's pretty much what it was. Like, it wasn't like I didn't want to ride with people, but, like, we just kind of thought that it would be cool almost to have the announcement be a surprise and then also release the welcome video at the same time.
Okay.
So we were kind of like juggling that. I was juggling not getting seen on the bike, and then I was juggling, like, oh, I have to, like, get used to the Sunday so I can film on it, because they're definitely 2 different feeling bikes, and definitely bit off more than I can chew in that situation. I thought I could handle it, but it chose to be a way bigger task than I thought. But we got it done, and shout out to Zach for being down to knock that out. Like, I couldn't have done it without him. He seriously helped me in so many ways, like whether it been driving or being down to go out on super early morning missions just for those few hours to get a clip, you know, even though he had other things to do that day. Like,
did you film most of it while you're still trying to be, like, on the DL about being on Sunday?
So towards, like, the last week or so before I flew home to Louisiana, we got, like, a few days in, so that was, like, mid to late December. So, like, you know, but, like, again, like, I just wanted to still pay my respects to volume, and so it was hard, you know. We were still dancing around the, hopefully we don't run into anybody today, and we, you know, like, the news gets out or whatever. So then, you know, like, we took that little break, obviously, because I was in Louisiana until New Year's Eve, and then I got back, and then we just hit it as hard as we could all the way up until, I think we were filming We went out the Tuesday, whatever the Tuesday was before the 10th. So the 10th was a Friday, so math, I don't know. Anyways, we were filming almost all the way up until the video dropped. Like going out, whether it was just in the morning, whether it was just in the evening, whether it was just for one clip or a whole day, like it was cool because Zach was just down, like whenever, like, hey, you're free this day? Yeah, like I'm only free for this amount of time, like let's go get it. And it worked out. I was so hyped that it worked out, how him and I visioned it too, and yeah, shout out to Zach so many times for being the man. And
sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit.
Nah, you're all good.
But yeah, that last clip was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that was something I had always kind of toyed around with the idea, and I tried it on like really small flat rails, but I could never get the full rotation. Like I kind of struggled with the full rotation of the full cab a lot. Like I would just land like kind of like almost over rotated half cab over. I was like, man, like I feel like it could work because it's a Figgy Pegs full cab over, right? But like if you went forwards, it would be a Pegs over hard 3. So as most of you probably know, that's a trick that I do often. So that was a trick that I had wanted to do, fakie, for a while, and I was stoked that I just knew that would be one of the rails that would work for it. And we went there and gave it a few tries, and before long it ended up coming around, and I landed one kind of slow, and then I went back and gave it a few more goes, and that one, the one that's in the video, came around, and I was super stoked on it, you know. Like I definitely didn't want to land it super shitty, and could have been the best that I could have landed it, and to have it be a part of that video and have it be a NBD of sorts, like, is kind of cool, you know. Have to kind of shoe that into the video as well, you know, because like you said, being that it was filmed in such a short amount of time, you never know what you're gonna get, you know. You could just get some little chiller clips and throw that together and just kind of like, hey, this is what we got. We only filmed on one weekend. Like most of that was just filmed during weekdays, so that was like another really kind of hard situation that came about during the whole filming process.
The rail in the ditch, is that the tallest thing you ever grinded from flat?
100%, yeah. Years ago, I did the pegs to like over in my finer things section for the volume video. Going back to do it again and do the rail into the wall, I was having such a like mental battle just to try it. Like I was just like, I don't think I can get onto this rail. You know, like I was seriously like if hopping at it over and over again. Like, I don't know if I can do it. And then finally, like after maybe 5 attempts of that, I just was like, all right, Zach, we're either gonna make it to pegs or I'm gonna miss terribly. And the first time I went, made it to pegs, and I actually had Zach run it back, and I saw that like I had like a good few inches of like room that I made it on the rail, and that kind of like eased my mind. And then after that, it was just game on trying to get the lean that I needed to go into the wall, because I was pegsing it every time, which I don't know how that was happening. But then the harder part was to pegs it, but then also have enough lean to yank over into the wall.
Right. Are both rails the same height? Because maybe that one's taller than the other one. How have you thought about that?
Yeah, I really didn't. I was just kind of like, this rail's so tall. I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
It's so tall. It's laughable how tall it is.
I mean, to give a few of you like a read on it, I'm 6'1", and the rail, the like top of the rail is at like probably like right here on my shoulder. Like I wouldn't say shoulder height, but it's, I don't know if you see it, like right here on my shoulder. It was definitely scary, you know, because like when you're trying to hop so high, you kind of lose a lot of the mobility in your body, you know, because like, you're just trying to tuck everything as high as you can to get on the rail. So it gets scary, you know. If a peg slips off or if you miss, you don't know how you're going to end up getting mangled in the rail, because like you're jumping right at it, you know. It's funny, the one I actually did that's in the video, it was just the first one that I had enough lean to do anything with, and I was just like, fuck it, here we go, and then just kind of went up. And then luckily that was the one, because when I was in the air, I was like, dude, I'm just going to miss and like pile drive nose like my front wheel just right into the ground, because like I felt like I was nowhere near the wall. But it worked out, and I'm stoked, because that spot, even though like it looks like just a rail next to the wall, that spot's super nasty and in this dirty ditch, and I don't really want to eat shit in that mess. So then, like I said, lots of moving parts to trying that, but I'm glad to be on this side of the clip now and have the video.
This side of the clip.
Yeah, have it be done.
Yeah, honestly, like, just grinding that thing is crazy, but the fact you did do the grind and then use the whole setup is just like, that was my favorite clip, just because of the sheer insanity, the ability
I
to do
appreciate
that.
it. Yeah,
That's like some Olympian shit. and I've known of you before I actually met you. Fat Tony,
yeah.
we used to talk you up a lot, like, you know, when you still lived in Louisiana. Finally, you came out here one time, and he was filming with you for Ride, and I tagged along. I think we shot that bar spin photo with the birds.
Yep.
What's cool to me is that, I don't know how old you were then, but you were like on Colony Flow, maybe Odyssey Flow at the time. You stuck with it, things worked out for you, you moved to California 8 years later, or however long it's been, here we are. It's cool to see like how it all evolved for you.
Coming from Louisiana, like, to put some backstory on it, my mom taught Fat Tony in middle school. Like, she was his English teacher. So Fat had always known my mom, and we were at this contest in Florida when I was really young, and they reconnected. Like, he was just like, you know, at the time when my parents were married, she was like, Miss Raiford? And, you know, like, she was like, oh my God, like, Fat, like, she said Fat's real name, and, they kind of, you know, rekindled the flame, like, talked to each other, like, oh my God, so good to see you, like, whatever, you know, blah, blah. And then, you know, they became friends again, and then she introduced me, and then that's how I got to know Fat. So then, you know, fast forward to visiting Long Beach year after year, like, Fat would let me come stay with him and shit like that. And, you know, shout out to him for doing that, because that helped me out so much as a young rider. And, you know, that's how I got to meet you and stuff. And, yeah, and then fast forward to now, like, living in Long Beach, like, I live, like, 4 blocks from where I used to come visit him at all the time, you know, like, and I'm living in the town that, like, I dreamed about coming to, you know, like, I would come and stay with Fat for, like, a week, and then to now be in a position where I can, you know, like, comfortably support a lifestyle in the town that I used to, like, literally, like, eat, sleep, and breathe wanting to be there. Like, it's such, like, a surreal feeling every day still, you know, and it's something that not only I appreciate, but it's something that I have to work hard at, you know, because California is a beautiful place, and there's plenty of opportunities here for anyone that wants to come and take advantage of them, but it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, for sure.
For a lot of the outsiders looking in, you know, like, it is very, I don't want to say it's expensive, because everybody is like, oh, it's expensive, don't move there, you know, but it's not expensive. You just can't come to California and expect to live how you lived elsewhere, you know, whether, you know, being that you came from somewhere that's more affordable. Because, like, in California, for me, like, you know, like, it's definitely a hustle, you know, like, every day, every month, every year is a hustle on, you know, like, hey, like, am I making enough to, you know, like, be able to pay rent, to pay my truck note, all this stuff, you know, to pay insurance, all these things, like, come into play. And even now, like, you know, I'm 25, I'm going to be 26 in a few months, and I'm going to have to start paying my own health insurance, you know, so things like that just start happening, and you're like, okay, how do I get more income coming in? So again, like, you have to start hustling and doing things, like, outside of riding, or pushing your riding harder and trying to get yourself in better situations, whether it be sponsors or contest wins or whatever it is, to make up for that income. And, you know, like, it's always, like I said, it's always a hustle, and, you know, it's something that I wouldn't give up for the world, you know, like, that's not me complaining at all, because I would hustle until the end of the day just to get to ride my bike for an hour, you know. I mean, shit, like, I used to cut grass, you know, like, when I was younger, like, I would cut grass to save up money for gas, you know, to be able to go to the skate park, to drive to Baton Rouge, to go to their skate park, you know, to have money for flights to go here and there, and, you know, ride with this group of people, or go and fly to this competition, you know. So, like, I was doing things at a young age that, like, showed me, like, hey, like, you have to put in this hard work in order to put yourself in those opportunities that, like, you really want to be in. And I'm thankful for that, because now I get to apply that to my life today, because it still is very useful to me, because I get to live in California. That's such a great opportunity that I'm so thankful for, but then also use those things that I learned as such a young rider and young individual, that to, you know, like, say, hey, like, I need to make rent this month, so I need to ride for a little bit, but then I need to go home and work on Tough World or work on paintings, you know, that way I get that little bit of extra income. That way I can do the things that I want to do or pay to live in California, you know. We all know someone that like works really hard and still goes out and do the things that they want to do, because it's not just pros, you know. Like I have a friend, his name's Jake. You might have seen him on Instagram, JakeBob69. He works construction for like long hours, like wakes up, like sometimes like him and I will play video games together, and he's like, oh, I gotta like go to bed, I gotta wake up at 3 a.m. I'm like, what? And he'll be at work from 3 a.m. to like 3 p.m. and he cuts concrete. He cuts concrete, he breaks it up with a jackhammer, he lifts the concrete, and he puts it in a dump truck all day. That's what he does. And he will call me after 3 p.m. and be like, hey, where are we riding? Like with so much enthusiasm and so much energy. And like, again, I get so much motivation from that, because that dude is doing strenuous, hard work, you know. And I respect dudes like that, because that's BMX, you know. Like it's what the BMX that I know, just dudes making it work any possible way they can to get where they need to be, to do what they want to do, which is ride their bike. And you know, nothing speaks more volumes to me than that. You know, I think that's so cool. In the Volvo, baby.